His head had been pulled off of the top of his spine. More than 95% of people who have this injury die at the scene of the accident.
Jon Wilhite is walking again after surviving the crash that killed Angels pitcher Nick Adenhart and 2 others.
The only thing holding his head in place before the paramedics got there was the strength of his own muscles. Our medical term for it is an atlanto-occipital dissociation, but the common term that most of us use is an internal decapitation. It's this frightening thought and this frightening picture we get in our heads, but it's a very realistic picture. Now, the head's not going to fall off. It's not, like a true decapitation, because it's still being held on by the skin and the muscles.
But he came close to becoming the 4th person to die in that tragic accident. Wilhite was taken to the UCI Medical Center in Orange.
Immediately, he was evaluated by the emergency room doctors. There's nothing holding the skull on. We came in and placed Jon in a halo vest. It kind of looks like a Frankenstein-like contraption with a big ring that goes around the head and bolts that literally screw into the skull.
A few days later, Dr. Bhatia and his team operated.
We have him face down on the operating table like this, and we make an incision all the way from the bottom of his skull down to his neck. We then put a titanium plate on the bottom of his skull that's attached by 4 screws, as well as screws into each of the bones in the neck. We connect all the screws with a titanium rod and then lock everything in place.
But there's not a lot of room to put screws into Jon's neck.
If you're off by a ½ millimeter in any direction, the screw ends up either in the spinal cord or in one of these major arteries or in one of the nerves, and the patient can literally die on the table. When he first woke up from the surgery a day or 2 after the surgery and he was starting moving his arms and legs, we were very relieved.
Since the surgery, Jon's been undergoing a lot of physical therapy.
Jon's walking and talking and throwing a baseball, so in that way it's wonderful. In an injury where somebody should be dead and should never walk again, this is the one. Overall, his outcome has been remarkable, truly miraculous.
Let's get ready to play ball.
Mark Eades reporting for OCRegister.com.